respectfully acknowledge that the land on which we are gathered is the unceded traditional territory of the Secwepemc. Recommendation that approval of the agenda, recommendation that Mara Mountain wildfire update and UBCM wildfire resilience be added as late items, and that the committee of the whole meeting agenda for July 24th, 2024 be approved as amended. Could I get a move for Councillor McCabe, Councillor Evans, all in favor? Okay, amended. Recommendation of the minutes of the committee of the whole meeting held on July the 10th, 2024 be adopted. Councillor Bushel, Councillor Evans, all in favor? Carried. Thank you. Okay, we have just an adjustment to our agenda. We had Murray going first, but we are going to put Fire Chief Lorenzo up first as he has a flight to go and check the drone area. So Lorenzo, you're up.
Thank you. Hi, everybody. How are you? Okay, so start with the fire ban. We'll discuss that. So currently, so right now it is a full fire ban, and that's currently in effect in Sicamous, including prohibitions on Category 1 campfires as well as Category 2 and 3 open fires. So basically nothing at this time, and that includes fireworks, of course, sky lanterns, binary exploding targets, burn barrels, and air curtain burners. Right now, we're monitoring things, and Mara Mountain is one of our main concerns. We're getting daily updates, and we have had really good, effective communication with BC Wildfire Services and the CSRD. Everyone's been really helpful and really engaging. And we wanted to make sure that we were getting information out to everybody in a timely manner. Our group, on the day that Mara was in fact, well, it escalated. We got all of our equipment ready within 35, 45 minutes. So I was pretty impressed by that, because we didn't have anything at that time, but we wanted to know that we had it in place at the firehouse and ready to go. Okay. Any questions? Yes.
Through the chair. Okay, I just want to make it clear, just more that it's on public record. So you say no campfires. Can people have their propane little fireplaces and you know, the little round propane stoves? And can they have barbecues?
So for cooking and sustenance is okay.
And if I'm sitting around my backyard with my propane fire pit?
No, according to the ban, that's a no. But if you're cooking, if you have a hot dog,
Hello?
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, if you're cooking, and always good to even have a hose nearby, even if you are just cooking.
So through the chair, I may suggest that we put that out there. A lot of our folks in town do have the, you know, the little glass lit propane around your fire pit. You have a propane fire pit. So if those are not acceptable, that we actually say, I know that we say Category 1 and you read through it and I'm like going, okay, I don't have a tiki torch. I'm not setting any lanterns off, but that we can maybe explain how our propane units work and who's allowed to have what. Yeah.
So the only other possible use is for ritual use, ceremonial use. You'd have to get a permit for that though. And at that time, we don't have anything in our bylaw that clearly states that. We will. So right now, we're just going to go with a blanket statement of it's just a complete fire ban unless you're sustenance, unless you're cooking. And as we move forward, we will have guidelines for people that when we get to this point again, that you have a fire extinguisher nearby or a hose. It's always good practice. And just don't go outside those parameters. We've talked about a dozen people in the last month. And what we've been using those opportunities for is public education. We will enforce next year. but we need to get the word out first and make sure that our bylaws, really super tight and clear, and then we'll start enforcing next year.
Go ahead.
Through the chair. Next question is, we do have, some, campers or places where people are living. I mentioned it when I was online, a couple months ago. So, Hoyer Point or Mara Provincial Park, we have a few folks that have made that, kind of a permanent home. And there are, like, they're living there. And there are some camps, between Sicamous and Salmon Arm, on the Forest Service roads. Now, again, I know that's not within the district of Sicamous, but I'm just wondering if, the CSRD, or I don't know if it's provincial, I don't know if it's CSRD, I don't know if it's us. But what it does is it actually affects us, because if one of those places, you know, if they end up with fire because of dry weather, that's gonna cause a really big problem. And I'm wondering if those are being addressed.
So, I can only go as far as mentioning the CSRD. They are proactive in that, they are aware. Because if they are encampments, it does require RCMP. I not suggest anybody in a position of authority other than RCMP going in on their own. So if we do have anything that encroaches in the district and we see that, then I will be asking the RCMP to help us out. And then we, depending on where they are and what we can enforce, because if they're outside of the area, then we might have to call the CSRD. But I'll gather the information, pictures, names, and pass it along to them and make sure that they are aware. And then we'll, if knock on wood, if we have that set up in the district, that's what we would,
He's forgiven. He's a regular. He's forgiven. Good.
so yeah, I would apply that methodology that we would gather names, dates, places, mark it, share that information, and then follow through. I would go from a, welfare point of view first. And then if they decide they're not moving and can't be enforced as far as them moving, then we'll have to monitor them every day.
Okay, and is that something you guys can kind of look into? I did bring it up about it 2 months ago, but there are, like, people don't have housing and we absolutely need to look after people, but we also really have to be very cognizant of how dry the woods are right now.
Yeah,
Is there some way that you guys can get together and we can get something back saying within the next 2 weeks? You know, or making a list and checking it twice kind of thing?
I will. And if there is a database of who is around close to the district, I'm only concerned about the district. Anything outside of that, I will happy to be to share information. But anybody inside here that has an encampment and having that activity that goes against, contravenes the ban and everything else, then yeah, we will be on that. But to my knowledge, there is none of that happening in the district, because we would have been informed by now.
Oh, yeah, okay, there's,
Yeah.
I'll talk to you after
Yeah.
I can stop.
But in Salmon Arm, as to far as what they're doing, I can find out what exactly their methodology is, so that we can bounce off that if necessary. But I'm very familiar with encampments and I'm comfortable in dealing with people in encampments. So it would be a welfare check first,
Yeah,
how
absolutely.
they're doing.
Yep.
And I wouldn't do it without our CMP present.
Okay, awesome, thank you.
So, Lorenzo, just for clarification, Counselor Rich did send me that about 3 weeks ago and I did forward it to you, those concerns.
Yeah, I do recall that and I appreciate it. I will get an answer to you regarding this with CSRD, because they will have better answers as well as far as the surrounding areas.
Awesome, thank you.
Thanks. Sarah, go ahead.
Through the chair, so just on the propane stoves, if you go to BC Wildfire, the website, it's very specific about the ban. And so it says outdoor stoves that, as per the wildfire regulation, they have to be CSA rated or ULC rated, used for cooking, heat, or ambiance that burns charcoal biscuits, liquid fuel, or gasoline fuel, and it has a flame less than 15 centimeters tall. So it's specific to that. And it says the use of a campfire apparatus that does not meet these specifications is prohibited. So we can definitely like put out some communication that clarifies that, but it does seem that they're permitted and that there's a height restriction.
Yeah, some of those smaller propane stoves will fall under that, especially if it's a smaller unit.
So just to that point, when we do that, we should make sure that the houseboat companies are aware because they're not selling firewood, because there's a fire ban on, but there are some propane apparatuses coming out so they can sit around on the beach with their propane fire pit. So to Councillor Rich's point, that's got to be made pretty clear. Council, anyone else? Councillor Bushel?
Yep, through the chair, thanks Miranda for coming. I got you some local forestry service maps for the service roads and everything. I'll give to you before you go.
Yeah.
And also, thanks for everything you're doing. And when would it be best to come by for do a tour of the fire hall and everything? We used to do it once in a while, and now that you're, kind of been settled in, it'd be nice to come by and say hi to your crew.
Come by anytime. The doors, unless it's really warm, doors always open. The bay doors are open. I am looking forward to nailing down a date for an open house where we'll be able to really showcase the changes, the services that we're getting ready for. Our organizational structure is going to look very different when you come in now. Not just physically from paint and decals. It's a new department on many levels, and we're striving every day to hit that benchmark of being professional. That's what I'm going for, and I now have a lot of help from officers that have a lot of buy-in. So that's a huge asset, huge help. So anytime, have bubbly. Do you like bubbly? Or I can make
Is
it.
that in the budget?
It's kind of,
It's a look at me.
but the firefighters club is buying it now. So we're on to them. But yeah, no, by all means, come by.
Thank you. I'll give you some notice too.
Yeah.
Councillor Beach, do you have some questions?
Good work, and a strong initiation coming in here with a wildfire and yeah, it's been an exciting and concerning time, I think, for a lot of people and some of us bringing some experiences from other communities that kind of make us nervous watching things, but I think the communication, really clear communication, as Siobhan has pointed out, and the mayor is really important to the people because what they see threatens them and it's automatic to feel fear. So I think we have to communicate all sorts of things about the situation that make it less threatening than it appears to us. And that's all I'd say. That's really important to the public.
That's a great way to put it, that you don't know the threat, and we have not all the information, but we're privileged to the majority of the information.
Yeah.
And that's why we want, as soon as we know, we want you to know.
Yeah.
Having said that, firefighters are notably known to be cool under pressure. So I want you to look at us as an example of if we're good, you're good. We don't fray easily, and come and talk to us anytime at the fire hall. Or better yet, electronically, social media, we're on all the platforms right now. Facebook and Instagram, and if I'm missing one, Twitter. So feel free to engage with us and ask questions, come by the fire hall. But know that our business is to be 3-4 steps ahead and let you know that.
Yeah.
And that's what we've done.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you. And I just want to say that I think that we know that and we want to believe that, but I think we always have to remember, and I'm going to just give a little example. of some information that Gord supplied because we hadn't seen a lot of bucketing or, you know, actual resources.
Right.
We hadn't heard helicopters. We were hearing reports that it was being done, but there was no, we weren't hearing it, we weren't seeing it as the public. Until Gord told me that they could be bucketing from behind the top mountain, the back of it, and we wouldn't see the helicopters and we wouldn't hear them. It's that kind of thing. That made me feel a lot better, just knowing that. But if the public, because the visual sees the threat
Mhm.
and they don't understand, they know fire can move fast. Some of us have seen fires just like this one coming up behind and moving very quickly. So, yeah.
Yeah,
So that's where the anxiety comes from. And I think any piece of information that explains what they're seeing or not seeing and not hearing, but it's happening, you just can't see it,
Yeah.
would be reassuring.
yeah.
That's all.
Yeah, no, and we'll try to do a better job of providing that. One big thing that I think we can all see clearly is it's very unhospitable for a helicopter or a plane to pass by with the amount of smoke and heat coming up. So that was something that I understood. And at the time, we wanted to go up a couple times on the helicopter 2 days ago, and it just wasn't possible.
Yeah.
Now that's cleared up, you see a lot more activity.
Yeah.
And in fact, on Annis Bay, it's now being held, across from Annis Bay, that fire is being held and that was bucketed.
Mhm.
I don't know if anybody saw that, but like you, it's reassuring to see them fly with that large amount of water and getting that
Well,
done. Yeah.
Anyone else? Lawrence, I just want to say thank you for everything that you've done and the process and the procedures that you've put in place, and those communications that you're sending out are great for our community and council as well, so we can stay ahead and make sure we're communicating with the community. I do have in here an early fire ban that I had brought up a couple of years ago. Sicamous has always been trendsetters. So we prohibited fireworks in our community, I think 2 or 3 years ago.
Good idea.
Just based on concern and the fact that we are a community that is surrounded by trees, like it's totally surrounded. So decided that prohibiting fireworks, which did cause a big kerfuffle because a lot of people in town sold a lot of fireworks and made a lot of money off of them. So that was a big hurdle for us to go over, but we did manage to put those guardrails in place for our community. So this council was, we really don't care what everyone else is doing. This is what we're gonna do. So when I talk about an early fire ban, I refer to last year or the year before when the CSRD, the Kamloops Fire Center put a fire ban on. And we had no rain here, and we are a lake community where there's a lot of people loading up firewood and going out to their cottages, going out on their houseboats, going out. So they lifted the fire ban.
Mm.
But the conditions hadn't changed here. So I think as a council and a community, maybe we may want to explore the possibility of us putting guardrails in for our community rather than depending on someone that's, you know, an hour and a half away to speak for us. So, yeah, I think that I'd like to find out more information about that. And if council has, you know, an appetite to perhaps look at calling our own fire bans in the district of Sicamous.
Yeah.
So, and I don't know what your thoughts are on that.
Yeah, I'd love to comment on that. So I think it's a great idea. Right now, I've reviewed our fire bylaw and we have to implement some changes because we don't have clear enforcement in line. Then what are we enforcing? And depending on what kind of fireworks you have, you might not even be able to have them in possession. And I wish Sergeant was here to reiterate that, but there's some you're not even allowed to have in the country. So that's another layer. So I want to look at the entire fire ban and look at what we can enforce, And from that, use that as a jumping off point to why we've decided to do an earlier ban or hold the ban a little bit longer, whatever we decide. So I think it's a great idea and it can be justified because we are a tree zone and that's an easy to implement, but my big thing is the bylaws, we have to look at them. And I need to look at forming a committee and maybe just going law by law. And my big thing for next year is when we do come down to the necessary changes or updates on the bylaw, that the enforcement is very clear. Because right now, business owners and inspections and even enforcement of having a fire outside the ban, it's all pub ed, it's all public education. But once we're able to get that bylaw, have it strong and use it as the foundation for our enforcement, I want to get that word out, maybe in the winter. I know that seems odd, but this is what's coming and let people know. And then it'll be a lot easier for us to enforce with our bylaw officer, with ourselves, with our CMP, if they see a need to step in. So
Sure.
I think it's wise that we do that. Just have a strong foundation for my bylaws of that jumping off point.
Yeah, so I guess I'd like to ask maybe council at this point, if you're okay with Lorenzo doing a little bit more research into that, and then he can bring us back some more information. Sure. Council in favor?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Now, can I ask, if you see this as a necessary item now, is this something you want to implement now? Because we can justify it. It's quite easy. So we don't have to wait till next year.
Councillor McCabe?
Yeah, I prefer the approach you're taking, the education, awareness, and then enforcement. My opinion.
Is that what he's at?
Councillor Rich?
Through the chair, this may be something, and Bianca will know when the taxes go out, but on the backs of our tax notices with our water things, maybe that's something if we can, I don't know the dates, but that, because then that goes out to our part-time residents that own two, and it's a mail out and everybody will get it, and then that's that part, so that we're educating through the winter for the folks that are here, but for our folks that are maybe just part-time in town or, you know, have different reasons why they're in and out. But that may be a really good place to, you know, how on the back of the utility letters, we put notices?
Yes, so through the chair, utility notices are actually going out next week. So I don't think the insert is finalized yet, so if we can put some quick fun facts on there. I think it would be doable.
No pressure, Lorenzo. Sorry, you're building a wild.
I think for now, we can start implementing that, Camus will have a fire ban in place that's designed for us. We can start having that discussion right away.
You know, that's.
Have a heads up.
And that's probably all we need to put on the back of that, just education, get people used to it, get them hearing about it. And then over the winter, you can lay out the ground rules and bylaws and things like that.
Yeah, I think that's a good.
No, that sounds like a good plan. Thanks, Sean. Okay, anyone else have anything for Lorenzo? Again, thank you so much to you and your team. I see you guys driving around all the time and I think it's definitely reassuring for our community to see you out and about. And yes, and I know the fire hall is open for all to pop in, so that's awesome as well. But thanks for putting process and procedure in place and the community exposure. Thank you.
I got one more question, sorry. Do we still have the bubble pit?
Let's say again,
Do we still have the bubble pit? Are you guys still doing that?
I'm not familiar with.
Okay, ask.
I was gonna say.
Love it, the kids love it. You guys have like a little plywood thing and you fill it with bubbles and the kids play in it.
Oh, okay. Maybe at the open house. So I've spoken with Mayor Colleen about the open house and she is gonna do a fire pit challenge, so I'm putting that out there to councilors too. We talked about this.
I have a couple glasses of wine.
Yeah, actually,
It did not.
maybe I'll ask you some other time.
Oh, I'm in. It's all good. It's all
Okay,
good.
well,
Lorenzo, thank you so much.
And please come by the fire hall and look for the invitation for the open house.
Hey,
Thanks.
thanks, Lorenzo. Thank you to you and your team. Okay, Sycamoose RCMP Detachment Quarterly Update, Sergeant Murray McNeil. Welcome, Murray. Nice to see you again.
Yes, here I am. Been busy as well. Nice to see Lorenzo with some of these collisions we've been going through as well. So this group been helpful. Most recently, yesterday, we had one on the highway and crew was right there and helped the one on Mare Road in front of the Husky truck stop. So here's my report for the first quarter of this fiscal year, April to June of 24. Again, focusing on road safety, it's always paramount around here in Sycamoose. And then trying to increase communication with the community and media and police visibility in the community. I've been trying to put out a few more press releases in regards to that second one. You may have seen more Sycamoose articles in the Observer. I've been sending them more frequently. She's asked if I can send them every couple of weeks, and we've been busy. There's some stuff happening in the town, so there's been lots of ink in the paper for Sycamoose. So I'll try to continue that trend. So for the traffic stats, we've had April, May, June. You see the numbers are 100, 83, 65 for the month, so 248 total. Pretty much on par with the same time of the previous year, 263. 5 members working resulting in an average of 16 stats per member for the month. The goal of 10 per member was exceeded. Total numbers 248 were similar to the quarter of 263 and then 303 in 2022. And of course, no shock, 2020 numbers were significantly lower. Moving on to impaired drivers, you see a significant uptake and the amount of impaired drivers we've been removing from the roads. June, just this past month, 9 in 1 month, a significant total of 16 total. And there were 12 impaired drivers for the same time last year. So the members are out on the roads and they're focusing more on looking for bad driving, doing roadside breath tests. The Motor Vehicle Act allows for a roadside breath test for any driver, but focusing on people who are doing some driving infractions and then giving them a roadside breath test. We've had collisions, only 2 injury collisions for that quarter, which is good. April 30th, there was a single vehicle collision on TCH at Liebarger, and just an elderly driver got confused, hospitalized or non-life-threatening. Road conditions were not a factor. And then June 22, single vehicle rollover 97A near Hutchinson, lost control across the highway into the northbound ditch with minor injuries. And again, road conditions not a factor. Break and enters were very minimal as well. We had the DOS compound broken into on Solsco Road and nothing was taken. Somebody was doing an inventory on what was there. And then May 22nd, a break and enter to the Shell station. That was a significant one. It was in the middle of the night. I got called up for that one as well. And someone had broke into the store, broke the glass from the front of the store, went over the saw. Their goal was to try to extract that ATM machine at the back of the Shell station. And they quickly realized that that wasn't going to happen. And they abandoned that and the truck was recovered near the industrial park in Salmon Arm. It was a stolen vehicle belonging to one of the hot tub companies. So when we saw it on the video of the store, it was readily identifiable. Called Salmon Arm police. They went over and the owner of the hot tub business didn't even know that his truck was stolen. The person had been busy that night. Yeah. Theft of vehicles, very good. We only had the one to mention, April 29th, a Polaris stolen from a residence on Montcalm Crescent, and the stuff was parked outside, had a chain on it, but the person cut that. So now you're going to see a little bit of the files that we've been getting into recently, and that again goes to the media releases that I've been putting on the paper. We've been doing some more traffic stops, doing some more seizures, and there's been getting some more interesting files. Weapons possession on May the 13th, we had a traffic stop of a vehicle in Malacqua. Led to the seizure of bear spray, which was observed with the driver. And a search of the vehicle led to a 9mm starter gun. Not a real gun, looks like a real gun, but used in track and field events. And that was seized as it strongly resembled the real gun. And that's what we call possession of a weapon for a dangerous purpose. So that was forfeited. June the first, we had a traffic stop on the TCH and Sick Moose resulted in the driver being arrested for prohibited driving. And then a search of that vehicle resulted in the seizure of a prohibited handgun and a loaded handgun from the trunk of the vehicle. Both guns were in the trunk of that vehicle. One was loaded, one was not. And we seized some drugs as well. The two occupants were residents of Lower Mainland. We've seized the vehicle and I was in communication with Civil Forfeiture Office this morning. They're going to proceed with seizing that vehicle and having it turned over to the Crown. So they're going to lose their car as a result of having those guns in the vehicle. Drug trafficking, May 16th, we did a traffic stop on Gill, resulted in a significant seizure of 43 grams of cocaine. If you remember the provincial government, when they were doing the decriminalization, they went to 2.5 grams. So that shows a significant amount. That is not for personal use. That's for a trafficking amount. You're driving around your vehicle with 43 grams of cocaine. And it was 2 residents of Salmon Arm. So we located evidence to support that the drugs are being trafficked, and the occupants were released at the scene. On May 17th, we had a male acting suspicious on Riverside Avenue. He was high on drugs. A couple of residents phoned us in saying that he was jumping fences around the condos there. We located him. He was in possession of a small personal amount, 3 grams of fentanyl, and he was transported to jail in Salmon Arm. And then we had this project that was mentioned in the papers, June 27th, Canadian Border Services Agency and the Sick Moose RCMP seized a firearm with an alternate serial number, an overcapacity magazine, firearm suppressor, significant large amount of drugs, 800 grams of suspected methamphetamine, and search warrants were executed on the suspect's vehicle and a houseboat that he was residing on the channel. That vehicle was seized by CBSA. Of course, the drugs and the firearms were as well. And the suspect was a resident of Sick Moose. He was released from custody and the investigation into that continues. That's a CBSA investigation where those firearms and drugs are seized. That's not a Sick Moose RCMP investigation. We just assisted with intelligence on that and assisted with them making their arrest. Related to that, however, I put a media release out on May the 24th. We seized a large stolen RV from a property down in Mara, and that was stolen from an RV dealership in Salmon Arm. And we searched that stolen RV after seizing the property. Again, seized a large amount of drugs, 100 grams of cocaine, again, a significant amount, 30 grams of fentanyl, and a gun suppressor in that stolen RV. So that intelligence was shared with the CBSA investigators. Those are related incidents, same suspect. So that property was returned and the drugs were seized, which was a success. Looking at our quarterly stats, kind of gone through those. Break and enters were not significant. Theft of vehicles, again, not really significant, just that sled. The total calls, 538 to 545, are very similar. And calls for service, as I said, very similar there. Resource-wise, Constable Poitras, he's the member that was injured in the motorcycle collision back in May. He's recovering nicely. He stopped in the detachment yesterday and talked to myself and the other guys. He's hoping to get his surgery this year to have continuing care for his head injury. So we'll see how that goes, but he won't be returning to work anytime soon. That's going to carry on. And we have another member who's off duty for a medical issue as well, long term. So I've been supplementing that if we have 2 constables down with overtime. The guys that still work in the Sick Moose office, they're working overtime shifts, including myself. And then we've been bringing in members from other areas, Revelstoke, Salmon Arm, and Okanagan detachments to help out. Because as you know, it's always busy here in the summer. And then we had the major event here in Sick Moose that I can speak about. Scott McDonald of Sick Moose was charged with the second-degree murder of Joanne Jackson. That occurred on June the 19th on Hillier Road. It was an early morning call that we attended to assist the ambulance originally. We quickly determined that foul play was suspected in her death, and we made the arrest at the scene immediately. Mr. McDonald was arrested, put in custody, and transported to Salmon Arm. I then called the Southeast District Major Crime Unit. They're called in to take investigations of this nature. Any suspicious deaths, any foul play suspected immediately goes to that Major Crime Unit. So the Major Crime Unit was in communication with the BC Prosecution Service. BC Prosecution Service, or Crown as you will, they're the entity that determines if charges are going to be approved against a person. And they had communication with the Southeast District Major Crime Investigators, and it was decided that further evidence was required at that time before charges were approved against that individual. So on June the 20th, that individual was released. We had discussions about that. There was a press release done by our media relations people. They put out that it posed a potential public safety issue, having this individual released. And I concur with that. Joanne Jackson's death was violent and it was senseless. And that person being released, of course, caused concern within the community and with us as well. So the Southeast District Major Crime Investigators, they continued their investigation. They worked diligently. They secured further evidence. They met with the BC Prosecution Service. And on the 24th of June, the charge of second-degree murder was secured. Scott McDonald was brought into custody and he remains in custody at that time. So it was very good police work on the part of the Major Crime Investigators and successful outcome. During that time, from the 19th to 24th, we had 24 hours policing in town. People in the area there in Hillier Road, they always saw a police car around the clock. We held that area, and then we had police in town as well in case something else happened. Report on that. I can't, of course, give any further details on it because it's an ongoing investigation. It's going to go through the courts and
Absolutely.
what happens.
Yeah, we understand.
Yeah.
Okay. Rory, thank you. Comments, questions, Councillor Evans?
We all appreciate it so much, Sergeant Murray, and appreciate you protecting our community and helping us through a really tough time. I got friends that live on that street and it was quite the awful thing for that neighborhood, and I appreciate so much what you guys have done.
Yeah. There's nothing good about it. I knew her, I didn't know her, but I encountered her a couple of times, spoke to her a couple of times, and yeah, it's just senseless that it occurred. And yeah, at least the arrest has been made and custody, and we'll see how it transpires through the courts.
Councillor Bushel, do you have your hand up? And then Councillor McCabe, then Councillor.
Thank you. Through the chair, Murray, any new information on the one at the Best Western?
Best Western, very tight from that. I haven't heard anything from Southeast District on that. They're not going to share that with me. That'll come directly from them if they're going to do any media on that and any progress in that investigation.
Thank you.
Same with the other one, same with the one on Solsqua too. It's both of those investigations are with Major Crime, and any media relations or anything that's happening with that, if they're going to share that with the public, then they'll do it through their own channel.
Thank you.
Now- Councillor McCabe, then Councillor Ray.
Yeah, thank you for your report and all the work you and your staff do. Scary stuff when you're talking about pulling over cars with loaded guns. And is a suppressor, is that like a silencer?
Yeah, suppressor is a silencer. It can be attached to the end of the firearm. So,
Getting pretty serious.
yeah, we're seizing those in Sycamore, so yeah.
Councillor Rich.
Through the chair, I've got lots of questions, Murray, so bear with me. So one of them was about Wayne Servio. August 2nd will be 1 year, and I just want to make an acknowledgement. Wayne was a long-term resident. He was born and raised in this community, and I know it doesn't have to do with you, that it is Kelowna, but it maybe is something that you ask Kelowna to put something out. What's happening with the investigation on the death of Wayne Servio. It's important to this community for sure.
Mhm.
So I just want to make a note of that. Second question is, again, with the fire chief that I mentioned, that we do have encampments. Some of them are within the DOS, some are CSRD, some are provincial FSR roads. Are we maintaining those? Are we looking at them? They're building. And I'm not against homeless people. Please know that I am more than happy to advocate for those folks too. My biggest concern on this is fires right now. And are we, I mean, Lorenzo said you know, I've got to talk to Murray about this stuff.
Yeah.
Is it possible that you guys can kind of map out where people are living and how we can get them the resources and not have them in our public spaces? So we're not worried about fires.
So the 110 Forest Service Road, that's in San Arms area. That's where some people have been camping a long time. I am aware that there's a camp at the Mara Point Provincial Park. That guy's been there for a couple of months. Councillor Bushel just talked to me about that. I didn't know he was still living there, but he'd been there. A month ago, we seized his truck, towed his truck, and he parked it in private land there. So I can talk to the BC Park Ranger about that, about that's their area, that's their park, if they want to continue to allow him to camp there or not. With camp on the Forest Service Road, again, I can mention it to the staff sergeant at Salmon Arm, but that's their area. I'm not aware of any in our area, people camping in our Forest Service roads, not aware of that.
Okay, yeah, I'll chat with you.
Okay.
And then my next question would be, are you guys gonna be out in the lake this year if you're down members?
Very little, to be honest. I'm short staff and I'm trying to deal with what we have in town. So the boat's in the water, but I've only used it a few times and it's been for calls. The only time we really had it out for a non-call related was for the fireworks. We had it out for public awareness then, but I have to put 2 people on that boat. And if I have 2 people coming to work for sick related injuries, and then I'm bringing in overtime to police the town, those resources are better spent in town dealing with what's going on in the city rather than just sending them on the lake. So I'm probably gonna have to, it's mid-July now, I'm probably gonna have to launch that boat on a call basis due to human resources staff.
No, and good to know.
Yeah.
And then my last question, which I brought up before, 24-hour policing, and I know that's not on you. What can we do as a town? We have the bridge going in. We're going to be pushing people over to 97A. It's very well known when police are in town and not in town.
Mhm.
Crime is kind of steady, but we've got a few extra kind of big crimes happening. And when you're talking about guns and stuff like that, Enderby has got 2,900 people. They draw from Vernon to get their so that they're covered 24-hour. Is there a way that council can help you or some way we can push, especially through the next 3 years while we're doing this bridge? If we have to wait for a member to come at 2 o'clock in the morning because they're blasting and they won't get through there. I mean, I know it's been brought up that they can let special people through. If they're blasting, you're not getting through. They're gonna say, we're blasting, and they're gonna say, drive around. So that puts our citizens probably 35 minutes to 45 minutes before they see an officer. During those times, we don't have a police officer. So what do we do as a council or town to push to help you get that coverage?
Coverage is an extra police officers, like,
As in 24-hour policing. We need someone here at night.
you would have to talk to Kelowna, but this has never been a 24-hour policing town. I would be very surprised based on the staffing issues within the Southeast District entirely if that was ever to come to fruition. To run in this town 24-hour policing, we currently have a complement of 6 police officers and 1 reservist. You would have to increase the staffing to the detachment to approximately, I would say 10, probably 9 to 10 members before you could put a schedule together where there was somebody working 24 hours a day, rather than just current hours that we have.
So could we have coverage at night with what we have? Because you're saying that we have 6, but right now you're saying we're down 2, right?
Yeah,
So
So-
what do we do to get help?
well, you could talk to Kelowna, Southeast District. Sean Baggy's my boss and he has a boss in force as well, but there's the pending fires coming, policing resources are used for that, you know, what's going on in Ashcroft and whatnot. And there's shortages, many detachments, so you're correct, it's way over my pay grade for trying to get 24-hour policing for this town. And with Enderby amalgamated along with Armstrong a number of years ago with Vernon North Okanagan detachment, so that's where those resources are pooled. And you know, that has its own issues as well. Then you have police officers that are working in different towns at different times and whatnot. It's, here in the Shuswap, we've maintained, police officers for their own detachments, Chase, Salmon Arm, and Sycamoose, and they've remained with those detachments, so. I don't have an answer for you how to get, 24-hour policing here. It's, I mean, I could mention your concern to Sean, my boss, but it's not something I can do, right now.
And then my last question, are you working with MOTI about what's gonna be going on while we're under construction over the next 3 years?
So they're gonna have a meeting with us. I had a notification of that, but the meeting hasn't occurred yet. And yeah, like you said, they said they're gonna allow us first responders to get through. It's not just police. There's the hospital is in Salmon Arm. So there's gonna be babies born in this town, and they're gonna have to get to the hospital in Salmon Arm, and they're gonna have to go through Highway 1. Otherwise, they're going nowhere around. And not just babies born, there's gonna be ambulance calls where people are gonna be seriously injured in Sycamoose, and they're gonna have to go to Salmon Arm Hospital. So they're gonna have to keep a path clear for first responders. And yeah, I know when they're blowing rocks up and they're coming down, but there's gonna have to be some avenue for that to happen. And I'll be part of that discussion.
Okay, thanks.
And to that point, perhaps it's not the Salmon Arm Hospital, perhaps it's the Vernon Hospital or the Revy Hospital that they get them off to. So I'm sure there is a master plan and, yeah. Anyone else have any questions or concerns for Murray? Go ahead. Councillor.
Sorry, I just want to say thank you to Murray for all the work that your department does. And it sounds like we get some big time stuff traveling through here and getting dropped off and in various locations because we're such a central thoroughfare.
That's what Highway 1 is.
Yeah, so
Everybody comes through Highway 1.
it's a challenge, and thank you for you guys keeping a lid on everything as best you can. Appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you, Murray, for all that you do and your teams as you guys are, you're doing a great job for our community. Why do you feel the uptick in drugs and guns in and around the community?
I think it was just a combination of some good investigations, some following around some of these people, doing some traffic stops, and then our partners with CVSA and securing that major seizure. It was just some good police work that occurred and started making a dent in things, so.
It's awesome. Okay. All right. Thank you very much. And thanks, team.
Okay.
Thank you, Murray. Okay, UBCM wildfire resiliency. It's a late item. Councillor Beach, want to take it away?
I think the wildfire resiliency has, it's an issue we need to sort of talk about in terms of, in this case, the response time that allowed, it's the smoke threat that we experience here, and from the fires. And I think it makes you, when you go through their emergency response, they've got 8 items that they prioritize. And of course, saving people from harm and lives and public health. I think health conditions is about number 4 on that list. And I just, when I was listening to the reports, or reading the SEP reports, it was about the no structures imminently threatened. That's what I would read. Now, structures is on there, but they're not at the top of that list. And I just feel that I would like us, and I'm sure there's other rural communities like us that have these wildfire situations, them to understand that the smoke, it's not just the imminent fire, it's the density of the smoke that can threaten public health seriously. And in our case, of course, the economic sustainability of a community when those reports get out far and wide. I'm not quite sure what the answer is and how to deal with it, but I think that we need to spend some time talking about how we can change the messaging to reassure people more. And yeah, I just was left always feeling like, but what about the smoke in this community? And that happens with these sort of, where there's a bunch of little fires, and then of course the one that we're talking about, the Mirror Mountain. And the feeling that maybe there's a way of looking at communities that are solely reliant on tourism. Like they've got nothing else. That's why people go there. And I know they're not thinking of that, but I wonder if there's a way we can kind of come up with an approach that would help them understand how critical that is, that it's the health is much higher on that priority list. And also the health detriment from smoke, and the fact that if you're a tourism town, you can kill a town, like literally will kill a town if we constantly have this going out from here. So it's a concern. It's a real big concern. I don't know if there's a way that we can kind of work with it and try and change it so that they kind of understand that the smoke alone is a huge issue, and it needs to be taken into consideration when they're prioritizing the first dumps, the first attempt at putting a fire out.
Right.
And not only that, it's probably cheaper to put a fire out as fast as possible than to let it grow and then deal with it or not.
I absolutely agree with you. I think that the province needs to be held accountable. I've learned a lot in the last few days and just talking with BC Wildfires. And when I'm snapping at them, they're going, Colleen, you're preaching to the choir here. You know, I'm like, let's get some resources up here. Let's get this stuff out. You know, it's a health issue. It's a climate change issue, because all the smoke is going into the environment, which is totally they want us to be driving electric vehicles, but they can't put a forest fire out because they want it to burn. So it's a stupid thought process, and it's a stupid system. So I totally agree with you. And as a tourism town, agree with you on that point as well. So perhaps we need to start writing some letters to the provincial government. We have to stop picking at the local folks that are trying to help us and go to the head of the monster. This particular government has done us no favors. They've taken things away and cut back. And they're pushing down to resources that don't have enough, to departments that don't have enough resources to fight 300 fires in the province, right? So I agree with you. And yeah, I think we need to get bond together. A lot of the communities, as well as tourism, as well as ECDAV, as well as all of those, yeah, gotcha. Folks that depend on, you know, clean air, all of us.
Yeah.
And health. Councillor McCabe.
No, yeah, no, thank you through the chair. I agree with all the statements, but it's at the provincial level. We have to try and affect change of policy at the provincial level. And their responses, like you've said, and Pam said, they'll say it's a matter of resources and prioritizing resources. Well, we have to push for a policy change at the provincial level, and they have to allocate more funding to allow to access more resources. Instead of saying we have limited resources, well, that's because of lack of funding, basically. It's all about money. They need to be funded more so they can access more resources. I mean, they're accessing resources right now from Ontario and from the Yukon, and I think from the States. But they need to access more. And so we're not at a point where it said, well, if it's not impacting structures or people or, then we're just gonna let it burn. Wrong. Policy has to change and that has to be done at provincial level.
Counselor Richardson, Counselor Beach.
Through the chair, yes, and I agree with everything here. I think the other thing we need to really be cognizant of is, yes, it's our tourism for a month, or now it could be 2 months, but that isn't just the hotel owner. That's the lady who's cleaning the hotel. And then when she doesn't have money to buy her kid school clothes or have food, that this all rolls downhill into our community. So we're not just talking about a hotel not getting his rooms filled or a restaurant not having their seats filled. The dishwasher, the person who is cleaning the rooms, the person who is driving the cab around town. And then those people don't have money to donate, or those children don't have food on their table. And so we really have to go back at the government, and I really feel like we need to push hard and say, this isn't, oh, we got smoked in again, here we go, shut down Sycamoose. We have to say, no, we're not doing this anymore with you guys. And if that's letter writing or at UBCM or whatever we need to do, we have to let them know that this is actually falling in on our entire community. The economy, like, we're killing our economy, and people will quit coming. And that doesn't mean we lose a restaurant. That means we lose jobs for people that are trying to feed their children. And, you know, we really need to push for that. We really do.
Counselor Beach and Counselor Bushel.
Thank you through the chair. I think I read that the deadline for a resolution to UBCM this year was the 21st of July. Is it too late?
Through the chair, yes, to submit resolutions for UBCM convention this year.
So this year, when we're down there, what can we do? If we can't take a resolution. I know that Ian's not here, but I think that's where Ian was headed with his resolution.
We could sneak a little bit of request in there, but I truly believe that we should start writing some letters as well. And gaining community support and gaining other community support and start the ball rolling that way. But hopefully at UBCM,
at UBCM,
we can
maybe
slide
we
this
can.
request in as well, because I think we are meeting with.
Well, Ian's is about resiliency, right? In the face of climate change and all these things. I'm pretty certain that was what he was getting at, but could we
could
change it? Could we like facilitate it a little bit? No. Okay, no.
So the resolution about economic resiliency for tourism dependent communities, that was endorsed by the Southern Interior Local Government Association, which is now.
Right, it went.
UBCM.
Okay, right.
So it's as it stands. I think, I'm not sure if you can present a recommendation at UBCM to a resolution, but you could request, council could request a meeting at UBCM. The meetings with ministers, cabinet ministers, that deadline's passed, but you could request a meeting with staff. We would just need clarity as to who, like which ministry and which staff you would like to have that meeting with.
Okay.
That's something that council has an appetite to.
Yeah. I think anything extra we can do at UBCM at this point would be really imperative, because this needs to be addressed. We're not gonna get less of these wildfires. This is becoming a norm. So we've got to find the right people to talk to.
So do we want to, what should our next step be to,
Through the chair, if there's consensus from the council members at this committee to look into submitting a meeting request, we can do that.
okay. Go ahead, Pam.
Yeah, I would ask that we submit a meeting request specific to this issue with the appropriate ministry staff or whomever we can get in front of, to be quite honest.
So can that be her motion? And do we Is that what you want? Is you want a motion?
Sure, motions
Okay.
are great.
So I think we should just take that as Pam's motion. I'll second that and we'll see if is everyone in favor? Okay, that's carried. I don't know if Ian's online or not. I haven't heard a lot.
No, he is not.
Okay. Got, so you're good with that?
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you. Councillor Bushel.
Yeah, through the chair, a couple things. There is a workshop at UBCM as well. It's to do with climate change and disasters of some sort. So I did register for that, but it's a bigger picture and it's how they log or how we're logging nowadays. It's a bigger picture. And it's just how we're fighting the fires, like on Sunday when that was really blowing up on us. And that was the only day we saw buckets that day. We didn't see them till late in the afternoon and I know an engineer that works on firefighting helicopters during the summer and it's so frustrating because they work on the helicopters all night. So they're ready to go in the morning. So the pilots bring them down when it gets dark and they work on them all night. And then they get up in the morning for a meeting with BC Wildfire and that meeting doesn't happen until like 10 or 11. And by the time they get rolling, it's late afternoon when it's heated up. Those meetings should be happening at 6 a.m. and they should be departing at 7 a.m. and getting on it when it's cool. But maybe I don't know everything, but that's these guys have been fighting fires for years and that's the constant problem they're having. So it's just a bigger problem all the way around. So I don't know. I do think that's something that we have to, the province has to work on for sure.
Go ahead, Councillor. Beatty.
Yeah, I was looking at the maps of where the concentration of attention was, and they're all color coded and everything. And I'm trying to think in those 3 days it took for them to sort of respond. I think they'd done maybe a reconnaissance. I'm trying to give them credit that maybe there were quite a few fires around that time that were popping up. So maybe they would just say we didn't have the resources, but I still feel like you've got to understand that dumping on a 5-hectare fire, like right off the bat and putting it out is better than letting it burn until it's 168 or whatever we ended up with and all that smoke. And I just find the plane to get,
And I agree with you because that's the way I feel too, but it's not that simple. The process isn't that.
I know, I
simple.
realize
It's not
that.
Simple. We can sit here and go, yeah, when it was 12 hectares, they should have just put it out. And here we are at 220.
Yeah, I know.
So sorry?
300 right now.
Oh, sorry, the last report I had said 220 on it, but, yeah, I agree. Anyone else? Go ahead, Sarah.
Sorry, through the chair. I just wanted to share because UBCM, they put out their email updates. And they put out this BC's modernized emergency management legislation, this one. But there's now what we heard from stakeholder engagement. There was an opportunity for local governments to provide input. And basically they've compiled all that information. And so if you're interested, just take a peek at your email and it might be good background information for the meeting we put forward with
Whomever.
whoever's best,
Determined.
to be determined.
End of the day, feel like it's a government issue, a provincial issue. And perhaps changes need to be made to the governing body that is calling these shots or not making changes. Okay, let's move on to backcountry, Shuswap Backcountry Riders, Councillor Bushel.
Hey, through the chair, I just did some work with Felicia. I talked to her and Matt the other day from BC Timber Sales, and they look after the logging roads in this area. And they're the ones that wrote the letter to the Shuswap Backcountry Riders in regards to decommissioning of the Sycamoose Ridge Road, which is the road that goes up behind the dump.
Yes.
And so, we talk about decommissioning roads and pulling bridges out, and now they're putting the bridges back in. Well, the bridge they're putting back in has probably been in and out, I don't know, 6 times in the last 3 years. So can you imagine the cost of that, right?
Yeah.
So they're gonna put the Skyline Bridge back in on the Owlhead that allows access to the skyline. Because there's a washout down by Ashton Creek, down that way by Bacchus's anyways. So I talked to her for a little while, and then Matt, another fellow from BC Timber Sales was on the line and asked them, and their you know, their objective is to actually decommission that road. Because that's when they give out a forestry tenure, the forestry company comes in and logs, and they log out all the logs they can in that area. And then they have to decommission when they're done. So that's what BC Timber Sales is doing, is decommissioning that road. They have some other roads that they're talking about decommissioning on the Owlhead, which is really important to us. Because when I was speaking with them, I told them how much we use that road and how much, you know, search and rescue have used that road for 2 fatalities in the Sycamoose Creek Falls. And I said, I mean, I know hikers use it, the Shuswap Trail Alliance is part of their trail system. They didn't know any of that, which I found strange. So I said, is there anything we can do? And she said, yeah, we could turn it over to you. I mean, you don't have to do anything with it, but it's just not their responsibility anymore. So it's something we should, you know, with the Owlhead especially, where we're starting to build a bike park and they're gonna start decommissioning some of the spur roads, we could be using those spur roads. So it's something we should look at, or maybe have them come and meet staff and meet our staff and talk about. So I just thought I'd bring it up that, you know, it's, and I did have them send me some maps, and I gave Lorenzo some maps of the area. And maybe we should have just a staff meeting and bring in BC Timber Sales and look at it. So maybe Daryl wants to comment on it too.
Yeah, go ahead, Daryl.
So are we talking about license of occupation? Did that come up?
That would have to go through Marcy or not,
Kelsey?
Kelsey, that would have to go, yeah, we talked about that as well. And whether, you don't have to, if a they have said that municipalities have taken over in areas, but it's not a license of occupancy. So there's a couple of different ways you can do it as well.
Yeah, I'd be interested to have a meeting if.
Yeah.
Put together.
So I could set you up with Felicia's number and we could sit down if you want me there. I'd love to join you.
Sounds like a plan. Any other comments? Councillor Rich?
Yes, through the church. I met with another Gord about, he's does a lot of the backcountry, and it's the ATVs and the bikes and stuff like that. They also use them for horses. And like Gord said, these bridges have been pulled in and out, and now they're actually putting the, like, instead of driving up to the fire, they've got to put a bridge back in to get it. But they're pulling these bridges out, and one of the things people really need to know, when they decommission these, they like literally if you go like that deep. And so these guys have been riding up there and do their thing, and all of a sudden, there's a sign about this big with growth all over it, and it says road decommission, and you've got people driving, like, you're gonna kill someone, one. And two, Sycamoose really needs to look at, and ECDEV needs to look at this. If you look at what 108 is doing, I sat down and had breakfast with Gord the other day, and what 108 is doing, Enderby's doing a lot of it. And for the shoulder season, this is a huge catch for Sycamoose. These guys have a ton of money. You know, we're always looking at the lake, we're looking at boating, we're looking at sledding. We keep talking shoulder season. And they're like, they have clubs, they're respectful, they take out more than they bring. It's not a bunch of kind of guys throwing beer cans out of the back of their vehicles. They are out there using the bush wisely and enjoying themselves, coming back, not leaving a mess. It's a really, it could be really good for Sycamoose on the shoulder seasons. And we also really need to look at the government, the way they're decommissioning, because they do just dig these, Daryl probably can speak to them, but they're big giant trenches. And like for instance, my kid rides dirt bikes in the back. But like if you had ridden out there one day and then the next day you go up, you literally, you don't get through it. You're toast. So that's the other thing, is if, like, I don't want them decommissioned, but if they are, they need to be done differently. They're not safe the way they're doing them, but we don't want them decommissioned. What we want them to do is leave them, and that Sycamoose builds on it, and that's our shoulder seasons on through the spring and fall. Got people out here riding.
I just have a question before Gordon, then, Councillor Bushel and then Councillor Evans. Who's 108?
108 mile
Oh, 108 mile. Yeah, so
community.
if you start looking at how, like, who's out with the big, if you look at these ATVs and quads and side by sides, you maybe see them come through on trailers. We actually have huge clubs, and we have a club in town. But 108 is a community. And what they've done is on their shoulder seasons, they're more ranching. So their big thing in the summer and spring is you go horseback riding and everybody goes out there and like you do the like ranching thing. But they're really building on these outback kind of tourism. And that these folks have, like, they're invested in it. It's like boaters or it's like sledders. They're more like sledders, I guess, that they put a lot of money into their machines, but they're very invested in the land that they ride on. It's a great, like, I think it would be incredible for Sycamoose for our shoulder seasons, because that's when they're out there. They don't want to be in the bush when it's hot.
Councillor Bushel.
Okay, through the chair, thank you. It's kind of something like we left off on a while ago when we were trying to actually get an ORV bylaw for our streets, so the ORVs could go directly from their garage to the hill. And we've let that lapse, just because it's the way it is right now in the province. It's up to the RCMP, the local RCMP, to allow that or not allow it. And Murray said no in the beginning when we kind of left off. But since then, Murray's kind of loosened up. It's too bad he's not here, but he did loosen up a bit. And now I think we have about 13 or 14 registered quads or side by sides allowed to leave from their garage. They're allowed to stop at a service station. They're allowed to stop at a restaurant on the way to the hill. But they can't, you can't go get groceries. You have to get a permit. You have to get a permit for your quad and get it from Murray. So there's like Mike from Red's Rental and Todd Kylo and people like that. They're allowed to go from their garage. And I've seen them on the Trans-Canada Highway, driving on the Trans-Canada Highway and going over to Queast and stuff like that. So yeah, it's allowed if you have a permit. So that's kind of like, it's a big draw for the ORV industry. If we had campgrounds at the base of the hill, and it would draw tons of people if they could have a place to park their RVs. So just something to.
Thanks, Gordon. And I'll just throw out a note too, saying so this is a public meeting that also, I mean, yes, that Murray is giving folks permits, but the minute those permits start to be abused and people aren't doing what the permit allows them to do, all of the permits will be pulled, not just that one. So he's very adamant about people following the rules and being respectful. So, and that's really important. Councillor Evans.
Thanks to the chair. I just wanted to thank Gord for pointing this out, and I agree that we should, if we can get control and management of it, that would be a good thing.
Okay.
Just a question. When BC Timber says to you just need to take control, do they own the forest or is that Crown land? Like who can take control in Crown land?
The province will give you the right or give you.
So BC Timber has that right and they would just hand it off to us?
Yeah, they would, instead of decommissioning, they would go to rec sites and trails, or they would go to the province and say, this community wants to use these to access the backcountry for
Oh, okay.
safety or whatever.
Yeah.
For quadding industry, they're building a bike park on Owlhead and they don't want you to decommission it because they're gonna use that road to access the trails.
Okay.
So yeah, that's the way it works. They
Yeah.
work with the province or rec sites and trails, and they decide if it's gonna be an occupation permit, license to occupy, or an actual just access permit. for the
Oh,
use.
okay. Okay.
Okay, thank you. Go ahead.
Through the chair, council sent a letter in May about backcountry use to the Assistant Deputy Minister for Ministry of Environment. I don't know if you guys recall, but he did submit a response. And he did confirm that the Owlhead Forest Service Road will not be decommissioned. There's no plans for that. He couldn't speak directly to the permit roads connecting to the Forest Service Road, but he provided a contact. So staff can reach out to that contact if you would like a clear status on the permit roads within this region. Yeah, and he responded June 19th.
Okay,
Okay, that'd be great. Go ahead, Counselor.
The motion, Sarah? Or can we just ask him? If you want a motion, we could, okay, let's do it.
Okay, Shuswap North Okanagan Rail Trail cost, Counselor Bushel.
Okay, thank you through the chair. I mentioned to Kelly and Colleen, I'm just a little baffled at the numbers that are coming out on some of these trail contracts that they're being issued, and they're kind of like all over the map. And when we signed the, I guess when we signed the servicing establishment bylaw, we were talking about an $8.3 million rail trail at $166 per meter. And then the budget was revised in 2019 to 12.9 million, which worked out to be $258 a meter. And it just kind of keeps growing. The last one that they just issued was 1,040 meters in Armstrong, and that came in at $618 a meter. So I just, we haven't heard anything about, and maybe it's another meeting with Phil to come in and tell us where we're at. But the budget that was presented prior to COVID was $23 million for the rail trail. And if you use that $618 a meter, that could come in at over $30 million. So I just wondered, is there any way we could ask the working or the ownership if we can have a revised budget? Is there a revised budget? Or are they reviewing the cost? And I know in the package here, they gave us the cost of the $643,000 budget for the Armstrong one. Is there a construction and operational cost review? Do they review it every once in a while? Is there I know we get little sections, but is there an overall cost today? Does anybody know?
I have requested from Phil that we get an update.
Oh, perfect.
And Kelly has requested as well, added to my update, that we get costing on the rail trail as well and where we're at to budget. So that's going to be forthcoming soon. And I think a little bit of the difference in the cost, first of all, it's 7 years later and everything has gone through the roof. And the amount of work that's necessary in that stretch, like some of that is eroded, and so they're building it up, and some of it's easier to work with. So I don't think the cost for each stretch is going to remain consistent, but Phil can probably speak to that better than I can. Councillor Rich.
Through the chair, Gordon, sorry, I was writing down numbers. So we started in 2017 at what did you say?
8.3?
8.3 million? Is that right?
Yeah.
And now with what we're doing in Armstrong, we're at 30 million in 7 years
Well,
difference?
The last budget put forth was 23 million.
But that was before COVID, and now you're at, what did you say, 600 and?
Well, that section is $618 a meter, $618.87 a meter.
Wow.
But that section,
Sorry.
We're going from 8.3 million within 7 years. If you use their numbers up to 30 million. And the trail's not built, and it can still keep going up.
It'll still keep going up.
That's
I'm just asking the numbers.
Yeah.
And that's fair, and if these numbers are true, and if they're not, then hopefully we can get a follow-up on that. But I don't want to avoid that. Let's call it what it is.
Oh, absolutely. And that's why we've asked Phil. So I don't know if I want to be tossing numbers out in a public meeting that we're not 100% certain of. So I think that Phil should address, cost to operations now, like it's.
Yeah, no, I think this is great. The numbers they produced here gives us per meter per foot, and Phil will be able to explain.
Oh, yeah, a little bit better. Kelly, did you want to comment on this?
Yeah, I actually, because we had taken a look, Gordon had given me a call, and in this particular one, if we were to extrapolate it, yeah, it could be 30 million, but there seems to be this fill material of 230,000 of the whole 643. So it could be a section that requires more fill, because to me, that seems like it seems like a lot just for the fill piece. So I'm not quite sure as what the intricacies are for that particular section, but that could skew the cost per meter. I'm not quite sure. But that's something that we'll ask Phil for, you know, a budget to actual where they're at for overall project costs and as well as operating costs and reconciling that between the CSRD and the RDNO. And yeah, we're trying to get some information. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that's good, because one of the things is, like I say, they're all over the map. Our little section in Sycamoose, the 1 kilometer that was what was left behind, and then they got the grant funding for, that worked out to be $111 a meter. And we needed, we were supposed to have 2 to 3 feet of fill on that. So that should be way up there, right? But it wasn't, so it's just the numbers are kind of wonky, so it'd be nice to know why.
Agree. So, yeah. Councillor McCabe.
Yeah, well, each section's got different improvements attached to it. What it could have a pedestrian overhead or a bridge or a retaining wall. So you can't take one section and extrapolate that to say that's the whole cost of the trail. Because each section is a different cost depending on what improvements are done in that section.
Yeah, and this particular section also has $120,000 in fencing. Right, so that obviously makes it more too.
Councillor Evans.
No, I didn't have my hand up.
Okay, Councillor Rich and Councillor Beach.
Through the chair, also, would it be possible to get what this means for our taxpayers? So this year we're at $41. When we get the numbers from Phil and whatever the real numbers are, how that changes, because we did have a forecast this year, but it would be interesting to see what if we're sticking to the forecast or that's going out, what we're looking at. If those numbers are changing that quickly, and in that, like, that's a pretty big jump.
Councillor Beach.
Yeah, I just want to say that, yes, every section has got its challenges. And as far as I know, we haven't started working along the lake where the bites are gone from the trail. So and how are you gonna get the dirt out there? You're not gonna be driving it out in a big truck. So I think I think that that's gonna be an expensive piece, because that's gonna be have to be rebuilt in 12 locations. And so every area is going to be a different cost. And I'm predicting that will be the most expensive section right along the lake. That's all I'm saying. I don't know how much it's gonna cost, but I'm predicting.
Thank you. Anyone else? Okay, thank you. Kelly, Bianca, you want to add anything too?
I'll just, to Councillor Rich's point in terms of what's gonna cost the taxpayers, that probably won't be determined until closer to the fall when CSRD does their budgets, which is probably around the new year in January. I'm thinking we'll have an idea of what the requisition is kind of looking like, but we'll reach out to Phil as well as Jody and start digging in to let them know that we just are wanting some updates on overall project costs and where we're going with that.
Okay, thank you. Okay, Bianca, Finance Department quarterly update.
Okay, nothing too exciting. Guessing everyone read through my riveting memo.
I did.
Nothing crazy over, compared to last year. Budget and actuals are staying on course for all the different departments. And I also provided the financial statements. One thing that I did not include in my memo, because I didn't want to formalize it in my memo, I'm letting Karen do it on her quarterly update next meeting, is when you go to our community health center. Right now, we have it deficit funded by taxpayers. Karen and myself actually worked together on a grant, which we did not include in the budget since we didn't know if we were going to be getting it. But from the BC Association of Community Health Centers, we have an approved grant of $115,000 that we have received. So our deficit this year, our expected deficit this year is covered by grant funds, new grant funds. So
Great.
Karen will do something more formal at our next meeting, but I just wanted to highlight that you can almost cross out the funded by taxpayers this year because it got a new grant
It's part of next year too.
and a little bit of next year, yes. So that's exciting. Sewer was one of the big ones that we talked about during our budget discussions. We have been dousing our chemicals a little bit less. So I'm expecting that one to go down a bit more in this next quarter. And other than that, if anyone has any questions.
Go ahead, Councillor Beach.
Yeah, not really a question, but just something that I've noticed in reading through all the different grant funding that is available. There is more out there for us to access. Quite a few more grants that I think would be applicable to the projects that we're working on, so I hope we can take advantage of them.
Through the chair, that's incredible. Thank you so much for applying for those. And then is it possible that we can get it out to the public that, you know, we're not at zero, we're at plus whatever, and that's gonna cover a little bit of next year too? So that the public knows that, you know, our staff is working and doing this great job. So we're not charging taxpayers for this. I think it's really important we get these wins out there. It's huge.
Go ahead, Bianca.
So we just got approval to kind of make it public, so with Karen, we'll do something formal
Cool.
to get out there.
Thank you.
And we can do a formal press release as well.
Yeah.
Sometimes we can get grants, we do that.
Yeah, we just have to coordinate the funder.
100%. It's awesome.
Thank you. Thanks, Bianca. Good news. Okay, so we're gonna go to mayor and council reports and strategic priorities. Councillor Evans,
Nothing to report this time.
Councillor Rich,
Didn't get to do mine last year or last year. It was last year. Oh God, I'm gonna be there for a week. So did Canada Day, absolutely fabulous Canada Day this year. Kudos to everyone that participated in that. I also bartended for the curling rink for Canada Day and we had lots of people out. I want to do a massive shout out to Deb Heap, who did Community in Blooms. We met with the folks that came out and Splat Scene came out. Next day I saw Deb ripping them around in one of the quads in town that is legal. And the folks seemed super happy and it was just really cool. I've not ever been involved in it before and it was great. So, and then I'm going to go back to Deb and say farmers market is blossoming and fabulous and please get out there and support. But what an amazing thing you've done there. And I've been spending way too much money over there, but that's okay. Hit up the Music in the Park, which is our chamber. Again, I think this Monday there was about 350 people at Music in a Park. So well done to the chamber and everybody that is doing that. And I've just been fielding a lot of calls about the fires. So just trying to talk to people and get them into contact with the other people. And August 3rd is our family fun day. So hopefully we see everybody out there. That's going to be good.
thanks, Councillor Bushel.
Through the chair, yeah, I guess, yeah, a couple of weeks, attended a couple of Music in the Parks. They were really good. Last night was really good too. A lot of people there. I attended Nicole put in and Kelly, they had the Main Street Housing Project open house. That was really informative. I did both sessions and it was really packed. I thought it was really, you know, the late evening one wasn't really busy, but the one in the daytime was really busy and a lot of good questions and lots of people excited about that. I told you I worked with BC Timber Sales. I've been out spending some time out at Polyard Point. Malcolm wrote a email the other day about trying to get some services out there and I did find my old emails that we talked to Wes D. Arman from BC Parks. And I'm gonna send him some pictures again and see if we can get some service out there. And like I say, there's some people living out there not year round, full time now. See if we can get that fixed. And yeah, fielding lots of calls about the fires and that's about it. Thank you.
I'm just gonna interject on that one, because you did send me the Polyard Park, and I did forward it to the CSRD, so FYI.
Yeah,
Go ahead, Councillor McCabe.
yeah, it's It's a nice park. It's flat, it's level, and it's just a little jewel sitting there not being maintained to their own standards. So thank you guys for doing that. Yeah, so I attended a housing open house, both sessions, morning and afternoon and evening. Fairly slow in the evening. I think there's 26 people filled out the survey, and I think that's been summarized on our website. And music in the park, yeah, it's very well attended, done by the chamber. Ran out of beer, but oh well,
Really?
at 8:30.
It's okay.
Oh,
It's okay, it's okay. Hey, go ahead, Councilor Beach.
Yeah, so I also we all met with the Community in Bloom's people together, and that was really, really interesting. I think they might have been a little overwhelmed by all of the all of the great stuff that we were telling them. Anyways, it was good, and kudos to Deb for getting that all organized in a shorter period of time. So that was awesome down at the beach park. And I also have been enjoying the farmers market on Fridays. It's so busy, like it's really doing well. And I'm there doing face painting, but I'm just really impressed with how well that market's doing. And also the music in the park was really well attended. Particularly this last Monday was huge. The turnout was much bigger than the first one. And yeah, so I think that that's going to be good and just keep getting better through the summer. So again, you want your face painted, come and see me.
Thanks, Councilor Beach.
It's not great.
Keep that in mind. Is Councilor Bailey on? Councilor Bailey, you want to give us an update?
Oh, sorry. Yeah, I just arrived. Sorry.
We can't hear you.
Oh, hold on.
Oh, there we go.
Can you hear me now?
Yep, that's good.
Okay. No, I've just been working. I have really no update. Just trying to stay above water.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks.
So I attended the CSRD board meeting last week, and MOTI redid their presentation to the board, the one that we had the day before. They represented, and all the team players were there. So I did reiterate our concerns with turning lanes, the speed reduction on 97, and the erosion on Highway 97 as well as the on 97 A and B. I think that's the A and B connection there, that there isn't enough turning space there to safely turn. And there's a lot of things that they need to look at. And we're expecting from them to look at and deliver some sort of rejig test or a conversation or update. Also, as far as the big trucks moving safely and keeping our community safe, we discussed muster points so that they can gather in one spot and then put them all through at one time. So there was some conversation about that too. I mean, it's not going to happen all the time, but they do kind of have a bit of a plan going on. I was also happy to hear that the daily road closures that they're calling for are not all day, and they're not every day. They will be some days, but when we heard 9 to 3, we went, oh my God, 9 to 3 every day, but they're not. They're not every day, and they may not be all day, but when they are blasting or doing something, that's when they're gonna put those in place and give us some good warning. So I also attended the Main Street housing or the housing open house, and unfortunately I was at the CSRD meeting, so I missed the early portion. But I understand it was very successful, and there was a lot of positive comments coming from. So I think our community has embraced and is looking forward to this project on Main Street. The fire on Mara Mountain has been on the radar. I started sending out emails Friday morning to Shuswap Emergency Program, BC Wildfires, and the Fire Command Center, the Operations Command Center. So that started Friday, to just make sure that we were all connected and everyone had the right contact information to keep everyone informed on and having current information in their hands. I know it's frustrating because our wishes aren't necessarily the wishes of BC wildfires and our wishes to have buckets of water dropped on that, but it's unfortunate. It's not the way the world works or their processes or plans. They watch the fire, they assess it. They have 300 other fires that they're watching and assessing so they're it's not threatening to our community as it sits right now, and it is being monitored. So I just want to send a thank you out to SAP and EOC and BC Wildfires and our fire chief and his team, and I feel confident in everything that they're doing to keep us informed and protect our community. I think this is really a provincial problem, as we spoke about earlier, and provincially, we need to make it loud and clear to them now. We as taxpayers are not happy, and something needs to be done. Processes need to be changed. Their level of how they deal with all of this, it does need to be changed and looked at. And I am going to. That's it for me, and I'm going to open it up to the gallery. Go ahead, Deb.
I think next time I might actually give a formal update on the farmer's market. There's been some pretty good stats. But today, the priority is this weekend is the pickleball tournament. So it is the second annual, it's expanded, so it's gonna be Saturday and Sunday, the numbers are up. So everything's looking good on that front. It starts on Saturday at between 8 and 8:30, like the actual playoffs start at 8:30. Not sure if anybody from council wants to come out and kind of say something to get it kicked off. I know it's not the big ribbon cutting we had last year, but you know, we could. Anyway, just I'll put it out there, and if you're interested, just email me. I'll got my email, so. Yeah, that's it.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else in the gallery? Anyone online? Okay, so I'm just going to take this opportunity. This is CAO Bennett's last council meeting. So we'd like to thank you for 11 years of hard work and contribution to our community. And the amazing work that you've done. And we've got a lot of projects that are going because of your hard work. So thank you very, very much for all that you've done. I'm also very excited for you for your new position. And we all wish you all the best of luck. So I think there is a card.
No, you're big. Then you know what? I have mixed emotions about leaving. It has been a pleasure serving the community of, oh, there's cake too. It's been a-
Have your cake and eat it too.
Aw. The community of Sycamoose, oh, wow. And I will miss everybody here on council, staff, and all the amazing people. But I'm still part of the community as well, and I hope I see everybody around from time to time.
Here you
I'll
go.
be zooming in on the meetings. Look for Steve. Thank you.
You're welcome.
We'll try not to raise your property taxes.
Well, I know who to call. I know who to call.
And I would just like to add one more thing. We frown on poaching here, just so that you know, poaching people.
Oh, I'm not allowed to poach people. That's fine. I'm not going to.
That's
It's verboten.
verboten.
Yes.
Absolutely verboten.
Thank you.
All right, that's it. We're gonna call the community of the whole meeting at 2:39, Wednesday, July the 24th. Did I get a mover? Councillor Evans, Councillor Bushel, all in favor, and we're done.